once again, I'm at Porchester Shore, and this time we're going to make another attempt at Peewit Island with suitable footwear. So this time I've got welly boots. Now you may be asking, why didn't I just wear wellies last time? Well, I didn't have wellies actually. I didn't possess a pair of wellies until just this week, so I bought these specially for this trip, but I'm sure they'll come in useful for future episodes of this series. Very much as before, I'm going to skirt the edge of the mud until we get to the path, because on my right here is quite sticky, sinky estuary mud. On my left there's a kind of gravelly shore, so this part of the foreshore is fairly firm to walk on. This part on the right, you'd sink in it, except we're looking for a path that was built up by the addition of gravel. I think potentially quite an ancient path, although nobody really seems to know completely for sure. Probably medieval, but some people say Roman. It is quite breezy today. I'll try and keep the camera in the lee of my body, so hopefully that will minimise wind noise as far as possible. We're coming up on the start of the path again here now. It's really quite difficult to see from very far away, but when you get close it's quite unmistakable. Okay, so this is the start of the path. So the mud around this piece here is a little bit more sinky than it was last time I was here, but hopefully the boots will do it. It's really weird, this mud, because there are places where you can feel that you're on the bank and you take a step slightly to one side and immediately you're into quite sinky mud. So I think the trick is keep to the line of this path. I can see loads of little shrimpy things or fish or something moving about in here. Yeah, keep to the line of this path and follow the footsteps of those who've trodden it before us. Are you okay, Jenny? I think we're nearly on the firm bit now. And here we are. Whoa! Yeah, just every now and again you hit a hole. There we go. So this is a bit more civilized. And I might be imagining it, but I think I can see almost like the remains of cart furrows there from a cart track. See if you can see it on the video. There are two lines parallel there. I think that might be the remains of cartwheel tracks. Now here we come upon one of the possible reasons for this path being here, which is shellfish. These are going to be cockle beds out here. So cockles, oysters, all kinds of bivalves living in these estuary mud areas, and we just have to traverse a little channel here. But I think the worst of the mud, well, at least the worst of the mud that I could predict, is behind us now. Just need to be careful we don't get stranded here by the tide. And there's Peewit Island over there. So that's Peewit Island there, sticking up, that little bit of sand there sticking up. There are also dotted about these little patches of almost island. So these will be submerged at highest tides, but they are dry enough for, well, this is some kind of seagrass here, dry enough for that to grow on them. Right, well, I'm joined today by Jenny and my friend Josh. Josh is a local. Estuary mud's not normally very fragrant at the best of times anyway, but
you've got all of the petrochemicals.
Yeah.
You've got the sailing rub around by the castle as well. And notionally they're sailing, but I don't think they aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sulphurous rotting vegetation and yeah, marine smell plus a bit of petrochemical.
But I think some of that petrochemical smell is just because this mud is on its way to becoming oil.
Yes.
You know, give it a few million years. But what I do like about this is the shore out here. I was going to say the shore out here is really clean. Counter example right ahead of me. Well, I did bring a sack with me today, so I'm going to pick up whatever rubbish I find in the sack. So yeah, as I was saying, the shore out here, the foreshore, is actually really nice and clean. I'm a little bit heartened to see that it's not completely covered in plastic waste. I'm sure we'll find a few examples of it, and I'll pick up whatever I can and carry it off and dispose of it responsibly. But yeah, I reckon, looking at the width of this track, I'm pretty sure I can still see the remains of cart furrows there, even after all this time. I reckon this is an old cart track. So coming up now on the edge of Peewit Island, I think we've made it. I don't want to speak too soon, but I think we actually made it. Now the island itself, the dry part of the island, is a nature reserve, so for ground nesting seabirds. So I won't be setting foot on the dry part of the island. We'll only be going on the foreshore, below the high tide line, because at this time of year there could still be ground nesting birds nesting, and I don't want to be that guy who treads on a peewit's egg or whatever. It's possible that our presence here may frighten the birds a little bit, but I think as long as we keep our distance, they'll not abandon their nests or anything like that. And here we are. This is Peewit Island. So here, this is marsh samphire. This is an edible wild vegetable. Not sure I would pick it from here because this is Portsmouth Harbour, not particularly nice and clean. But here we go, samphire. A wild edible that you find in coastal marshes and estuaries. Here's a little bit of dry land, which I won't walk onto because it could be birds. Some kind of member of the Asteraceae. Little yellow daisy flowers, very succulent leaves. Obviously an adaptation to the salt marsh here. But I think the general plan of action will be to make a circuit of the island on the foreshore, come back round that way, and then back along the path. Well, here's the thing I didn't notice. That's a piece of rail. I wonder if there was ever a track out here or something, or if maybe just somebody stuck that in the ground so they could tie a boat to it. So yeah, lots more samphire there. And here we are. This is Peewit Island, and like Burrow Island, it's got this little spit that comes out here on the end and curls round. It's really common to see that on islands that are in a tidal flow. The sea kind of shapes the spit. This is I think this is sea lavender. not actually related to lavender. These are not very big specimens, but this is a plant that people sometimes cut and use as a dried flower. We might see some better specimens of sea lavender. As I say, not going onto the island itself, we'll stay where the seaweed is. Well, bigger than it looks from the shore and from Google Maps. So actually quite a bit bigger in terms of the island area than I expected. Okay, I will make a slight exception in walking onto the island just to remove that. I'll take that home for recycling. Quite a lot of broken glass here. I'm not going to try and pick up loads of broken glass because it's quite sharp still. It will just cut through my bag. So this will stay here. Eventually this will get worn down into beach glass by the surf. It's fairly inert, so I'm not so worried about collecting that. What I want to do is just get rid of any plastic or litter. Thank you. And it's interesting here because it's almost like a little wetland habitat inside of the island. There's a little channel here that runs through and it terminates in a little pond. So there's almost like a little wetland ecosystem inside this tiny island. So coming round onto the sort of seaward side of the island now, and again that's going to be big cockle beds and mussel beds out there for various bivalve shellfish. See, here is the problem with plastics in the ocean. Watch what happens with this. Piece of polycarbonate sheeting there, or polypropylene maybe. Just completely weathered by UV and exposure to the elements and just ready to become microplastics. So over there you can see Burrow Island. I'll point it out, I'll put an arrow on the screen. Background here, Porchester Shore, and here we are, Peewit Island. Nature Reserve, no landing. So that was Peewit Island. We have made our circuit of the island. We've collected a whole sack of plastic and rubbish. Actually run out of capacity now, and unfortunately there's still more to find. I mean, how about this for a concept? How about we don't put plastic in the ocean? Just a thought. Anyway, we're going to head back along the path now, head back towards the mainland before the tide comes in. The tide has already turned, so we've got to kind of step it up a little bit, make sure we don't get stranded here, or else we're stuck here for 11 and a bit hours. Oh look, a face mask, yes. Hooray, we survived the pandemic. Just watch out for holes.
Yeah.
This is the bit where it's, you get, oh look.
Ooh, very pretty.
I don't know what that's from.
A bird of prey.
Somebody in the comments want to tell me what bird that's from? So back where we joined the island now, and it looks like the sky is starting to threaten a little bit of rain, so I think we'll head for home. But that was Peewit Island. Not a great deal to see there. Perhaps there would have been more if we'd been on the island itself. I didn't see any sign of the medieval fish traps that are supposedly here, but they're presumably somewhere out there in the mud. But there are what looks like oyster beds perhaps here, shellfish beds all the way around here. Anyway, time to head for home now. You know, okay, use paper bags instead. Well, the amount of water and energy and everything it takes to make a paper bag.
Yeah, and they are less durable than these. You know,
so a paper bag may potentially be more damaging to the environment than a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
Then buy yourself a material bag.
Yeah, have a hemp bag in it.
But then even then, they reckon that with like the Hessian sacks and the hemp bags, you've got to use them your whole life.
Yeah.
To get to the break-even point. But then actually, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, I remember talking to, when I worked for the publishing company, the couple that ran that were near to retirement, actually beyond what most people would consider retirement age, and they were talking about that when the first plastic bags came out, you bought a packet of 3 of them and it had instructions on how to wash them and reuse them. Yeah. So anyway, heading back across the causeway now. Interesting little bits and pieces of wrecked boats and things like that you can often see sticking up out the mud. This is one of those places where boats come to die. But it looks like we're going to be okay for the tide. So yeah, just looking at all the different clams here. We've got various clams, cockles. I think these might be called Venus clams. That one's still alive, I think. So I'm pretty sure this would have been a place where people come to gather shellfish in years gone by. I mean, maybe they still do. I'm not sure I'd want to eat them from here just because of the industrial nature of this harbour. But there's quite a thriving population of shellfish here, and I imagine that that was a commercial source of food. Yeah, so literally retracing our steps here, because the amount of sink into the mud here is in the footprints at least a known quantity. This is the worst bit, this little bit quite close to the shore. Yeah, this is the bit that kind of deterred me from going any further last time in my duck boots, and it would have been misadventurous to do so. But the good thing is, where we're on the way back this time, we kind of know the limit of what we have to endure in terms of mud. Yeah, dry land, well, dry-ish. So that was my trip to Peewit Island with Josh and Jenny. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.